Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay, are we in? This looks so great. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go. So I have you're here, Cervantes, you're here. Your mom is gonna be in, right? Also?
I believe so.
Okay, I don't, that's so, no, I totally want your mom here. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna admit. Just one moment. Okay, hold on.
Yep.
Admit all. One moment. Okay, hold on. Hold on. You could, yeah, take a snack too. Good, good. Hold on. Hi, everyone. Just a moment. Okay, just a moment. We're joining in. We're going to be starting momentarily. Good. Awesome. Cervantes, are you okay with the share screen? Is everything
All
working in
good.
that?
Everything seems to be working.
I'm so happy.
Good to go.
I'm good on my end. I'm checking. Okay, hold on just one moment. Good. Got it. Okay. All right, everyone, I'm really here. So I just want to say welcome to everyone. I'm so happy that you're here. My name is Frances Kweller. I'm the director of this program. I'm so excited to share with you that Cervantes is actually going to be communicating with us right now about his experience going from a middle school student to a high school student to a high school senior where he presently is, and now he's actually on his way to college. He was accepted to MIT at, am I correct, just the age of 16 or 17?
I was 17 when I was accepted.
He's accepted 17. He applied at 16, am I right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
now he's heading to a great college. So we're really excited. And as I'm speaking to you, I just want to let you know that this is such a special moment because I still remember you as a seventh grader. So you're in the seventh grade in my head. And it's really a beautiful thing. And I also want to compliment you because not only did you get into a great college and you worked so hard, you sacrificed so much, but here you are today telling other families that they can also do this. They can also navigate the public school system, they can navigate the college applications, and they can also, figure out where their dream college is and the path and the journey. So I just want to say thank you so much for doing this because you're really helping people that you don't even know right now and you're showing them a pathway. And that's really what Queller Prep is all about. It's about showing pathways. It's about like really meeting and exceeding expectations. So I just want to give you a gigantic thank you before you even start this presentation because you're making time. You're making time for to help students and families. And you don't have to do this. It's really impressive that you are. Thank you so much. We're
Thank
just
you.
so
Thank you
happy
so
that
much.
you're here. It
Thank you
means so
so
much.
much. Thank you for
It
the
does.
introduction. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for Quality Prep. So really, thank you so much. Um, so you guys all heard the introduction, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. I'm Cervantes Pagan. I'm currently a 17-year-old senior at the Bronx High School of Science. And today I will be going over kind of what I did to get into MIT, which, as you know, is ranked either as the world's #1 university or amongst the top five. It's incredibly selective, and I'm going to be going over everything starting from freshman year until where I am now. So I'll start with screen sharing real quick. Give me a second. All right, so right now you should just see the MIT website. And I'm just going to go into just starting all the way from the start. So first of all, when applying to MIT, really GPA and SAT really do matter. I assume you all know that. But coming into this application with a strong GPA and a strong SAT score are incredibly important. In my year, the SAT was considered optional, but I really think that it was kind of fundamental to my application. Um, and in the upcoming year, MIT has reinstated the mandate for the SAT. So, in order to be admitted to MIT, you need to take the SAT. So, I'll go into a little bit more about that. So, right here, I have pulled up the scatograms of this is kind of an admissions matrix from the Bronx High School of Science to MIT. And this gives you a little bit of an idea of who is getting in and who is getting rejected from MIT. So here you can see me. I have my GPA right now, or actually, this is a little inaccurate. It hasn't been updated, but this shows my GPA is about, I would say it's saying it is a 95 and a half. It's listed as a 96 on my MIT application because that's what it was, but this is a little inaccurate. And my SAT, I actually didn't update it here. It was a 1550, so I'm all the way over here. So as you see, if I zoom in a little bit, it's very clustered. If I zoom in a little bit more, pretty much as I would say, as long as you're getting in the above the 1500 range on the SAT, you should be pretty good to go for MIT. I would look, I would suggest going more for like a 1550, 1540, 1560 if you can, but like anything above a 1500, I would say that's safe. And you could actually see people getting admitted with like 1450s and a 93.56 GPA, so lower than what I got. But then you could also see on the other end that you have people with 1580s and a 98 GPA getting rejected. So in the end, the GPA and the SAT are really important to the application, but they're not the end all be all. You need to be a well-rounded applicant. Um, so as I said, you're looking to get above a 1500, preferably in like the 1550, 1540 range. And for your GPA, I would say try to keep it at around a 95, 96, 97, something like that. In the end, a 96 versus a 97 versus a 95 is probably not going to make or break anything. So just aim for that range. Um, as for preparing for the SAT, I personally didn't do much preparation for the SAT. My Bronx Science really prepared me well for it. I wouldn't stress too much about it. If you're going to a specialized high school, you're probably really well prepared for it in the first place, especially the math segment. Uh, but if you do need help, Kweller Prep has classes, and you could also get prep books to help you out. But once again, I wouldn't go too crazy about that. I wouldn't stress over it, and I would not focus your entire time on the SAT because I know people who they spent the entire summer between sophomore and junior year preparing for the SAT and not really doing anything else, and that kind of backfired because they were not able to do an extracurricular activity in that place. So I would avoid doing that. I would study for the SAT kind of alongside other things. Don't make it like your primary objective. As for courses and course rigor, here I will pull up. So right here, what I'm showing you right now, this is the Common App printout of my extracurricular activities and my courses. Now, MIT does not use the Common App, but and because of that, I'm not able to view what I submitted directly to MIT. But what I submitted to MIT and what I submitted to the Common App is pretty much the same thing. So I'm just going to show you this. And if I scroll down here, these are my tests. And okay, so right here, this is listing all of my AP's exams and classes I'm taking. So course rigor is incredibly important. So if you're applying to MIT and you have like a 98 GPA, but you took all base level classes, like Regents, base level, not really difficult classes, they're not really going to care. What's important is to show that you tried, you pushed yourself to take these difficult classes, so you took one of the most rigorous like course selections and schedules possible. When you apply to a college, the college knows what high school you're coming from. They receive a school report, so they know what you could have been doing. They know that you could have been taking harder classes. They know you could have been taking other classes. And because of that, I personally believe it's incredibly difficult or incredibly important to take a heavy course load throughout the entirety of high school. Obviously, don't completely overload yourself to the point where you're not going to have time to do anything, or you're going to be incredibly stressed. But push yourself. Do as much as you can. Kind of take all the opportunities available to you, and that'll really benefit you. Colleges love to see students pushing themselves, so I would take kind of a very heavy course load. For example, in my junior year, I took four AP classes: Calculus BC, AP United States History, AP English, Language and Composition, and AP Physics 1. So taking four APs like that, MIT is instantly going to know that I'm really pushing myself. I'm taking the hardest classes available at my school. And then also to do well, to finish with like a 96 GPA is really great. And it shows MIT that you're able to push yourself. It shows MIT that you're willing to push yourself. And it shows MIT that you're capable of pushing yourself. So that's really, really important. Um, this is my GPA, 96 out of 100. Uh, I would say that's exactly where it needs to be. 95 and above, all going to be the same thing. Ranking, there's no ranking at Bronx Science. As for my senior year schedule, I also believe it's really important to push yourself in senior year. Colleges know exactly what classes you're taking in senior year, so you don't actually get to slack off when you're applying early action to MIT. You still need to push yourself. So in senior year, I took four AP classes, or right now, I'm taking four AP classes and two post-AP classes, which is a total of six AP exams because two of the AP classes I'm taking are double classes. So I have a really, really heavy course load this year, and once again, MIT sees that. They know I'm pushing myself. They know I'm going to continue to push myself, and they absolutely love that. I guess honors a little bit I could talk about. So honors are awards you receive. So an AP Scholar Award, this is really easy to get. As long as you take three or more AP exams and you average a 3 or above, you're going to get this reward. I got this in 10th grade because I took three AP exams in 10th grade and received fives and fours on them. So obviously I received the award. AP Scholar with Distinction, I believe that's five AP exams, averaging of like 3.5 or 4. I don't remember exactly. This is just something else to put on. National Honor Society, most schools have an NHS. You should all push yourselves to join that because it shows not only that you are academically pushing yourself, but it also shows that you are giving back to the community because to get to NHS, you need to do volunteer work. The National Hispanic Recognition Award, this is awarded based off of the PSAT score. So the PSAT that I took in 10th grade, I did pretty well on, and I received an award because of that. And the Junior Academy of Sciences in New York, this is kind of an extracurricular that I do, but also counts as a reward, and I'll go more into that right now when I talk about extracurricular activities. So as I already mentioned, if I go back to scattergrams over here, your GPA and SAT aren't everything. People were getting admitted with like 1470s and much lower GPAs as compared to people with like perfect SAT scores like 1600s and 98s. So it's not everything. So what else is it? It's your activities. These are really, really important. You need to be pushing yourself every year of high school to be doing activities in the summer in between years and throughout the school year. So I'll just go over this in order of when I did it. So starting in freshman year, let me just make sure I have it listed here. I actually don't even have it listed on this application. I do here. So in freshman year, all the way back, about midway through freshman year, it occurred to me that I needed to do an internship between the summer of freshman and sophomore year, or is like really recommended to do that. Internships, they look great for the college process. They give you valuable work experience, and they're honestly a lot of fun. So the internship that I did was called the SALTS internship program at the American Museum of Natural History. This took place between the summer of freshman and sophomore years, as I already mentioned, and it was an incredibly fun and engaging experience. So to get into SALTS, throughout freshman year, I took classes after school at the American Museum of Natural History, and then I applied to the program. I was interviewed and ultimately accepted into the program. Um, it was an absolutely great experience. It was probably the most fun I had in high school or throughout the whole high school experience. Uh, I was probably one of the youngest interns there because I applied so early in freshman year. But I still did well. It was just a great experience, and it was something really important to put on your college application because it shows that you were thinking about the college process all the way back in freshman year, and demonstrates a continued interest in STEM and kind of public speaking, which is a common theme throughout my application. So moving on from that, when it comes to clubs and what I was doing, so in my freshman year, I was experimenting a little bit with clubs. I joined the speech and debate team and was a member of DECA, which is kind of like a finance team slash club. It's kind of like a business competition. And ultimately dropped speech and debate at the end of freshman year because I didn't really enjoy it. But I stuck with DECA until actually senior year. Why is that important? When you stick with an extracurricular activity for a really long time, it shows dedication, it shows passion. Colleges love to see that. But once again, if you experiment and kind of switch around, that's completely fine. Because when it comes to what I did in sophomore year, I switched to becoming or to being a member of the United Nations team at Bronx Science, which was an absolutely great experience. Uh, UN in sophomore year, I competed at multiple conferences throughout New York City and actually at international conferences. Not only was it fun, but it showed that I had really good public speaking skills. It shows that I was a member of a team. And I was ultimately picked to be the vice director of general assemblies um, for our team at our school, which is great because it shows leadership and dedication to the team. Colleges love to see that you're a leader, and colleges love to see that you're dedicated. And I've been doing MonUN since. In fact, I have a MonUN conference to attend right after I'm done with the seminar. Um, so I would really look kind of for like two clubs or teams to join that you're going to dedicate yourself to and hopefully get leadership in. So that's kind of what I was doing throughout sophomore year. Halfway through sophomore year, or a little bit more halfway, so like March, that's when the pandemic started. That's when we went in lockdown. So I was a little caught off guard. All of the lab work that I was actually planning to do in between sophomore and junior year was kind of put on hold because of the whole pandemic. So I had to find something else to do. And that brings me to the Harvard X Principles of Biochemistry. So what this is an online college level biochemistry course from Harvard University on the platform edX. I did this between the summer of sophomore and junior year, as I already mentioned, and I actually continued it into junior year. This is a self-paced biochemistry course that's really advanced, and you have tests in it and everything. It was a great experience. It taught me so much about biochem, but once again, it showed my continued passion and dedication for biology and STEM in general. And it shows that I was willing and able to push myself even during like hard times, difficult times during the pandemic. It showed that I was still pushing myself and still committed to pursue my interests. That brings me to junior year. Sorry for the voice crack, junior year. So junior year is the hardest year of high school for many reasons, namely the course load, as I already talked about. I had a really, really heavy course load in junior year, but also because of extracurricular activities. So the real highlight of my junior year was two things. First of all, I founded my nonprofit organization in junior year. So what this is, a nonprofit organization, we kind of work, it's called Calculator Solve Problems. We work to collect and upcycle calculators. So we ask for donations. People mail us donations of calculators or money, and then we donate those calculators to students or schools in need. So this was really critical to my application. I didn't do it for college. It was something that I did for passion, but it also really helps with the college process, of course, because it shows that I was a leader. It shows that I was willing to found something, and it shows I was willing to give back to the community. That's what's really critical with this, because you need to be a well-rounded applicant. You need to show that, yes, you're like dedicated, you're intelligent, but you're also willing to give back to the community. That's what founding this NPO did. I run the NPO to this day. I absolutely love it. I'm so passionate about it. It's it's been an incredible opportunity, and I think I've really given back to the community. We've donated thousands of dollars worth of calculators to students across the United States, and I plan to continue this NPO into college. Um, this, in a sense, was really the crown jewel of my application. Uh, and it was by far the most difficult thing to accomplish because of all like the legal stuff behind it and all the logistics and coordination. But in the end, it was worth it. It took a ton of work, a lot of stress, a lot of dedication, but kind of having that big factor that kind of makes you a distinct active, applicant is huge for your application. So not only was I working on calculator solved problems, but I was also working on coordinating with mentors at laboratories across New York City. So I'm a member of the research program at Bronx Science. Most high schools have a research program, but even if you don't, you can still work at a lab. Uh, I was sending out like 10 emails a week to different mentors from different institutions, like expressing interest in their work and asking if I could work there. Um, Most of them, I never got a reply, but eventually I was lucky enough to get a reply from my current mentor, and he invited me for an interview. And then I got a spot at the lab as a volunteer researcher. So the way that worked is starting at the end of junior year, I went in person to the lab for the first time, and I met my mentor, I met the principal investigator, and I started working, or I started training in the lab, started learning lab techniques, and then about midway through the summer, I began actually working on my research project. My research, just a little bit about it, it was neuroscience research. I looked at the relationship between two cell populations in the brains of mice, and ultimately came to a new and really important conclusion that I presented in my research paper that I submitted to like Regeneron and other scientific competitions. So my research at the lab shows that, once again, continued dedication to STEM. It shows that I'm a hardworking student, and was just an overall great experience, especially for someone that plans to major in STEM, especially for someone who plans to go to a science and engineering school like MIT. Um, that brings me to senior year. As for senior year, I continued with Mon Yuen, now as the Director of General Assemblies. I continued with DECA, just as a member of the team. I continued with calculator solved problems, and I continued doing a little bit of research into the start of senior year, but mostly focused on writing my research paper and getting in research applications. But I also did join a few things. So I am a member of the Bronx Science Big Sibs. What is Big Sibs? Big Sibs is pretty much a program where a select few seniors are selected through an interview process that our school holds to kind of mentor and help out freshmen coming to Bronx Science. So once again, this shows dedication and support to the community. It shows you're willing to give back, and it shows that you're a team member because I had to work with other Big Sibs to write lessons for our freshmen to really get them in, to really welcome them to Bronx Science. So Big Sibs was a great thing. It's something I enjoy doing, and it's something that I was able to put on my application to demonstrate continued interest. Some smaller things, as I already mentioned, I was a member of the National Honor Society. I actually joined that in 11th grade, continuing into 12th. Honor Society, it's pretty simple. As long as you have above a 90 GPA, you have a certain amount of volunteer hours, they're going to let you in. So once again, demonstrates you're willing to give back to the community, demonstrates that you have academic rigor. But in the end, I really don't think Honor Society is that important. This last thing, Vice Senator, in 9th grade, I was the Vice Senator for our schools, for my homeroom class. So at Bronx Science, each homeroom has a Senator and Vice Senator. I was Vice Senator, demonstrates leadership, so I decided to put on the application. So that kind of covers my activities. I went through that a little quickly. Let me talk a little bit more about course rigor, going back to it. So you see here all the courses I take. I have a very, very heavy course schedule, but something else that I did was I self-taught AP classes. So self-teaching AP classes, once again, demonstrates your continued interest and dedication to a specific subject. So I personally self-taught the AP Chemistry and AP Biology class. I sat down and took the exam, but never actually took the class in school. I scored a 4 and a 5 on the exam, which is really good. That was a lot of work. That was really difficult. That was really unique. And I would, if you have time, would recommend it. Self-teaching like 1 or 2 AP classes in an area that you're really interested in. It demonstrates interest in that area and allows you to pursue kind of higher level courses at your school relating to that. So, for example, if I never sought self-taught AP biology, I wouldn't have been able to take post-AP genetics in our school. So, yeah, that's kind of the course rigor stuff. So that's how I prepared myself coming into the application process. When it comes to the actual application, that was a completely different story. So the MIT application, as I already mentioned, is not on the Common App. It's one of the few schools to not use Common App. MIT has its own application portal that is completely separate from Common App, completely different questions, but you can reuse a lot of stuff, and the extracurricular list is really similar. So I'll get right into that. So how should you tackle the application process? So I would say start planning and researching the school that or MIT starting in late July, late to mid July. So that could be easy. Go to the MIT website. You can pull up the MIT blogs, which are really important because if I show you right here, pull that up, blogs. So blogs at MIT, pretty much students write blogs about just kind of random stuff. I would say take a look through a few of these blogs because it gives you an idea of the school's culture. It gives you an idea of kind of what's going on campus, which is really important because it shows in your essays, which I'll get into, that you've actually done a lot of research into the school and not kind of just did like very baseline small investigations of what's going on. So by reading these blogs, by reading the website, by watching videos about the school, you get a much deeper understanding of the school's culture. So this is, I'll give an example. So at MIT, all of the courses are numbered. So, and most people refer to the courses by their number and not by their name. So if I show you right here in one of my essays, I say biochemistry course 5-7. I'm using the language of the school to demonstrate that I've looked into the school and I'm really interested in MIT. So that's really important. I would also try to do as many kind of, I would look into as much like college process things at your high school. So at Bronx Science, for example, we had a opportunity where we were able to talk to Bronx Science alumni from specific schools. So I met with Bronx Science alumni from MIT and Harvard, and I was able to talk with them. I actually had a mock interview with them, which was great. They gave me some tips. They were telling me what I should talk about, what the school looks for. That was an absolutely great opportunity. So I would look into as many opportunities as you can related to that stuff. It'll give you a better idea of what to do when it comes to interviews. So now I'll get a little bit into the essays. So essays, you're going to want to start drafting them in August, if not earlier. The earlier the better, of course, but I would start drafting them latest, like the start to mid-August. You don't really want to give yourself too much to do at the start of senior year. It's going to feel very, very overwhelming very quickly. So the best is start drafting in August and get all of kind of a rough draft of everything done before school starts, and then you could edit in school or stuff like that. So I'll just go over each essay individually. MIT is notorious for having a crazy amount of essays, as you see here. There are tons of prompts, tons of essays, so I will go into that right now. So, sorry, 1 second. We start off with the cultural background essay. This essay, it just wants to get an idea of your cultural background. It's pretty simple and straightforward. I'm Puerto Rican, and Polish, so I'm going to talk about my cultural background, my family heritage. I start out with my ethos has been shaped by my unique background, kind of using language like that. My family is Puerto Rican and Polish of descent. We celebrate holidays and weekend dinners together. This honestly is not too fancy. This essay is nothing really. I don't think this is a incredibly important essay for the application. Just be honest and upfront with what you're saying. Give a little insight into your culture, um, and that should be enough. But this I wouldn't worry too much about. I don't think that this is an incredibly important part of the application. Next, this second prompt, which is describe the world you come from. So your family, your school, your community, your city, your town. So I chose school. I chose to talk about Bronx science as my community. Why did I do that? Family, I already talked about in the last prompt. City, it feels a little broad to me. I didn't really want to talk about that. City, town, same thing. Community, I don't really have that much of a community connection outside of my school. So for me, the school was like the most logical connection. It may seem kind of like a little bit of a cop out to talk about your high school experience, but it's really not. Go with what you connect most to. What I do here, pretty much talk about how Bronx science kind of shaped me as a thinker, a STEM mind. It shaped me to ask the question of why. It taught me to want to have a hands-on approach to learning. Why am I bringing this up specifically? MIT preaches that. They want to teach you to be a thinker. MIT wants you to have a hands-on approach to kind of understanding. MIT wants you to be hands-on in the lab doing stuff like that. So saying you come from a community that facilitates that is great for the MIT application. Then at the end of the essay, I also mentioned kind of like the spirit and kind of more like human side of it of Bronx Science. I talk about how my friendships and collaboration in like Socratic seminars and projects were kind of critical to shaping who I am and how much I enjoyed that experience and how I was able to learn from my fellow students and teachers, which demonstrates that you're a great member of your community and shows that you're willing to learn from others. Next, this is another really short one, 100 words or fewer. Tell us why biology, this field, in my case, biology slash chemistry, that's why I picked on the application, appeals to you. Just a little bit of a tangent. Why did I pick biology slash chemistry? I personally love biochem. I don't know if I'm going to major in that. Probably will, might do aerospace engineering, but my application is most centered and most tailored to a biology style application because of my lab research, because I self-taught AP Bio, because I'm taking post-AP genetics. So it's good to go with that as kind of the major you're declaring on the application because it makes most sense for you. Um, Here, I was just brutally upfront and honest with it. I said I am passionate because I absolutely love understanding how organic processes work, which is completely true. I ultimately plan to pursue a PhD. Um, and then I talk about how the core mission of MIT is to make a better place in the world, to make the world a better place. And then I talk about how I want to do that with the knowledge I gained from MIT, with the knowledge I gained from being learning biology and chemistry at MIT. I want to make the world a better place. And because of that, I best fit MIT. I am a good applicant for MIT. Um, Family information. This is very, very similar to the cultural heritage one. Once again, I was just going to say the truth. There's no reason to not tell the truth in this case. And I just talked about how talked about my younger sister. Just really, this is very basic kind of essay. It just kind of demonstrates a more human aspect of you. It shows that it talks about my passions in the past, like taekwondo, ice hockey, clarinet. Um, it shows that I'm a well-rounded person. It shows that I love my family. It shows that I love the extracurriculars and things that I've dedicated myself to in the past. It shows that I'll be a great member of an MIT community, which has people from all different backgrounds, all different interests. Yeah. Jobs. So I can list two jobs here because I work two jobs. So the first job I list is my work at the NYU Skirball Institute of Biomolecular Medicine. That was my research opportunity this past summer. So once again, be straightforward to them. I completed 200 hours to date performing hands-on laboratory research on parasites, conducting animal dissection, cell extraction, uh, and operating flow cytometry equipment. I literally just stated what I did in the lab. There's no reason to kind of try to make things more fancy. If you're upfront and honest with them and tell them the truth, they're going to love that. I also list my American Museum of Natural History SALT internship program, which was in 2019. Once again, purely state what they want to hear. They just want to hear about your job description. Completed 100 hours, trained floor staff member throughout exhibition halls, giving oral presentations. Pretty much tell them the core info of the job. You don't have to say anything else. These are the more important essays. These short responses, or they're actually not that short. These are the much longer essays because they're 200 to 250 words. So we start out with this one. We know you lead a busy life. Tell us about something you do for the pleasure of it. So it's really important to pay attention to the wording here. First of all, they say something. They want to hear one thing, not 10 things. They said, tell us something you do for the pleasure of it. So you're going to talk about only one thing. Second of all, they say, what do you do for the pleasure of it? Language like this should indicate to you that they kind of want to hear about the more chill, non-academic side of you. So here, I could have talked about Monument, but I chose not to because that's kind of, yes, I do it for fun. Yes, I love Monument, but it's kind of academic in nature, and I already demonstrated my academic strength throughout the application. So there's no reason to do it here. Instead, what I'm going to do here is use this as an opportunity to show kind of who I am. I use it to talk about and show my interest in basketball and kind of how the pandemic, like shutting down ice hockey rinks because I used to really love hockey, pushed me to play basketball. I kind of use this essay to show me as a person, kind of as a friendly, nice person that's willing to try new things, willing to fail and not succeed right at the start, which I talk about how I was not playing well in basketball, but kind of having a very lighthearted, somewhat humorous essay like this and kind of showing who you are, being a nice person, is really, really important to the application. Because MIT, they don't want a robot, they want a person. So you also need to show the more human side of it. And that's what this essay really did for me. I absolutely love this essay. Next up, we have so this is the community essay. This is a really important essay. So as I've made clear to everybody here already, being a member of the community is huge and critical to applying to MIT because MIT is centered around having a great big community and kind of benefiting the world and the community at large. So this essay was partially recycled actually from my Common App. So on the Common Application essay, there was a question about, I called it the COVID question. It was pretty much just asking about like the coronavirus pandemic. So, and in that I wrote about how during the pandemic, I started Calculator Solve Problems, my NPO, and that fit perfectly here because it's asking about how did you work to benefit your community. So here I started off kind of with a little bit of a hook, a little bit of an introduction. I walked past my neighborhood marquee and read the quotes. I talked about a Mary Oliver quote and how that inspired me to start Calculator Solve Problems. So having a hook like this is pretty good for some essays. Obviously for these shorter ones up here, you're not gonna be able to fit that. But if you have more space, you have more ability to work. You could kind of show your writing skills a little bit, hook them in, and that's what I did here. And then I just talked about like the story behind founding my nonprofit organization, and discussed when I started and how I plan and kind of show my dedication to the future by saying the numbers captured on our website tallies the success of our mission. I'm kind of showing how I'm going to continue supporting Calculator Solve Problems and how I'm willing to give back to the community and how I'm really passionate about that. Next essay, tell us about a significant challenge you faced. So this essay contrasts a little bit with the previous two essays. So this one about Calculator Solve Problems and this basketball essay, they're a little bit more lighthearted. This one, I decided to take a little bit more of a serious approach. This was going to be a bit more academic. So this here, what I wrote about in this essay, and I kind of talked about how when I came to my laboratory, my research laboratory, I was really surprised by the use of animals in scientific research. I had always known animals were used, but I was a little bit surprised with kind of how you had to be hands-on and sacrifice the animals in order to use them to um, come to conclusions. So this is obviously really not a lighthearted topic at all, but it was a challenge I faced. It was a challenge I took to heart because it really did affect me over the summer. Um, and I think it's a really unique challenge. It's something really different. Most people, I don't think anybody has wrote about the dilemma, like the moral dilemma of animal sacrifice before on an MIT application. So this was really unique. It completely related to everything I was doing over the summer and demonstrated that my dedication to STEM, once again, demonstrated me academically, but also kind of showed me as a human how I struggled with this and how I had to come to terms with it, and how in the end I was kind of able to come to terms by like reading stuff and like watching YouTube videos and whatnot, but I still want to kind of look into this in the future. I end off the essay. This experience motivates me to discover more in the future. That's really good because it shows your continued dedication, interest in this challenge, and how you're going to try to tackle that in the future. So this last essay, these two blacked out things, these are the names of my mentors. I didn't ask them permission for this, so I just blacked out their names just in case. That's not very important. So this last question was optional, but I really think you should do it. This is going to be very long, 500 words or fewer, so I decided to use up pretty much all the space. So they pretty much just say in this question, do whatever you want. You have 500 words, do whatever you want. Tell us more information. So I started off a little lighthearted, kind of talking directly to them. Now I am at the end of my MIT application with some angst, wondering if this fully describes why MIT is for me. Did I convey who I am and what I want to achieve? So I start off a little lighthearted and kind of talking in this tone directly to them. Kind of, I think it shows you as a person. I've already talked about this, but kind of showing you as a person alongside you academically is really important. So I just say out of the gate, I'm saying it that MIT is my first choice dream school. And then I talk about how, and then this essay I really used to demonstrate what I had researched about MIT. So this I'm kind of using to flex my knowledge about MIT, flex how deep my understanding of MIT is and how much work I've put into researching and understanding MIT. So started off by mentioning the course number. That's big. It shows that you were looking into the language used at MIT. I talk about, I believe here I mentioned the Europe program. So what the Europe program is at MIT, this is an Europe standing for Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program. Pretty much if you're an undergrad at MIT, you're going to be able to conduct research at the labs, at the various labs throughout MIT. So talking about how I want to work at a lab at MIT, how I want to be in the Europe program is really important. It demonstrates that I did research into the school. It demonstrates I did research into MIT's all the opportunities at MIT, and demonstrates that MIT is really a fit for me because MIT is the only school that kind of offers such an in-depth and incredible research opportunity like the Europe program. And then I also talk about kind of a little bit more of a human element. I talked about how I was excited about living on campus. So I talked about what is going to determine where I dorm. Why am I saying this? Once again, saying being in close proximity to the biochem labs in Building 68. This, once again, demonstrates that you did a ton of research into the school, because how else are you going to know that the biochem labs are Building 68? Demonstrates you did research into the school. Demonstrates that you are passionate about MIT. You are interested in MIT. MIT is the school for you. That's what I was doing here. And lastly, once again, talk about the MIT blogs. I already mentioned that earlier. They're right here, MIT blogs. MIT blogs, they're great because they talk about, it shows, once again, if I'm saying MIT blogs, I was doing a lot of research into MIT. I was looking into what the students are talking about at MIT. And I even say MIT blogs echo warnings I've seen through conversations about X, Y, and Z. That's really important. It shows that I was actually reading into MIT and was passionate about the school. And then I have a little bit of lighthearted humor, like shout out to Physics C, saying a very difficult course. So in this essay, since it's kind of so loose with whatever you could do, I kind of just use it as an opportunity to flex my knowledge of MIT while also talking in like a lighthearted, friendly, and grounded tone. And I thought that was really important, especially after this really heavily academic and heavy essay about the animal sacrifice and the challenge I faced. Um, so once you get your draft of the essays, these are the final products, but I had tons of drafts of the essays that I had started or that I'd kind of, so I had a draft for every question done by the start of school in September. Um, and then during that time, from September to November 1st, which is the deadline for early action at MIT, um, I just used it to go back to the essays, to read over small things, to change the language a little bit. So I'll give you an example here, here in this marquee one. Um, the first draft I had, it said I've walked past the synagogue marquee and read the quotes on it multiple times. In the end, I chose to remove synagogue because I didn't want to have like any like religious affiliations that could be pulling away from like the core fundamental message of the essay. So like small things like that, looking back at small things, looking back at where you're placing your emphasis in the essays is kind of what you're going to be looking to do while you're editing and changing these essays around throughout the start of senior fall. I would also go to your English teacher. So I gave all of my essays, especially my Common App essays, but also my MIT essays, to my English teacher. He was really supportive. He actually brought it up to us first, and he'd be willing to read our essays. So that was great. I showed him my essays. He was like, "Wow, these are really good." He gave me a few suggestions on how I should change around language, um, and in the end, that was a great experience for me. So that's the essays. A few other things. So letters of recommendation. I didn't mention this before. Letters of rec. These are really important for your application. Um, so I'll just leave this here for now. Actually, I can pull up this for now so you can have that. So letters of rec. I got 3 letters of recommendation. So 2 letters of recommendation you're going to get from teachers at your school. I would say you should try to balance it, even for a school like MIT, which is a very um, heavy kind of STEM and engineering school. It's also important to have a rec from a humanities or English teacher. So my first recommendation letter came from my AP US History and Monty UN advisor. So at the end of junior year, I emailed her and I asked her to write me an essay. Thank God she said yes. And or not an essay, a letter of recommendation. She said yes. Um, she wrote me an absolutely great rec. Um, and I chose her because I had such a deep connection with her for like the past 3 years because, first of all, she was the advisor for Model UN. So I had known her since sophomore year from that alone. And being one of the top performers of the team, she had a really good impression of me. And also, she was my AP US History teacher. And in AP US History, I was really active in my Socratic seminars. I always had my camera on in the Zoom meetings. I would always be raising my hand. So because of that, I was a dedicated student in her class. So that's why I chose her as my rec for the kind of humanity side. As for my STEM rec, I got that from my AP Physics 1 teacher. The reason I did this is because my AP Physics 1 teacher, I absolutely adored him. He was one of my favorite teachers to this day. He's such a nice teacher. And I was also not only one of the top performers in the class, but also kind of a facilitator of discussion in the class. I would always be leading the breakout rooms, always have my camera on, always raise my question, always raise my hand to answer a question. So because of that, he was able to write about how I was a leader, how I was really active in the classroom environment. Um, so that's what kind of led me to choose those 2 as the recs. Um, and I also had a third and final recommendation letter, which was a joint recommendation letter from my lab mentors, or the principal investigator of the lab and my mentor. So they wrote me a nice letter of recommendation, which I think was really important to my application. Um, having a letter of recommendation from two people with PhDs in a professional research environment is huge. It's absolutely huge because if they're saying good things about you, their opinion is going to be highly valued, and it demonstrates that I was an integral member of the lab. I worked really hard on my project, and they expressed that throughout their letter of recommendation. Um, if you don't do lab work, I would try to get a third rec from some sort of outside source. So, for example, if I hadn't done lab work, but I had done like the SALT internship program in junior year, maybe I could have gotten a rec from one of the directors of the SALT program. Uh, Something like that. So kind of having a third rec from an outside source is really, really good for your application. I think it's really good. It's really helpful. Um, and I would try to request your rec as early as possible. You never want to push this on a teacher or somebody else last minute because in the end, when they're writing a letter of recommendation, they're doing you a favor. So I would try to do it sometime near the end of junior year. I'm trying to remember when I asked. So I asked my physics and AP US history teacher. Um, it must have been March or April, probably April, I think. It's when I reached out to her and asked her. Wanted to give her as much notice as possible. Sometimes teachers will announce it and then you could ask them then. But I would do it as early as possible. And they're probably going to send you a questionnaire to fill out about like who you are. So it's really important that you fill out this questionnaire properly for them because the they're going to kind of use that questionnaire like almost completely to write their rec. So it's important that you provide them with enough information to write a really strong letter of recommendation. As for my mentor, obviously I couldn't ask in junior year because I hadn't worked at the lab, but I tried to ask in September, so way before the rec was, or actually, no, I asked in October, so way before the rec was due because the recs are actually due 2 weeks after the application, so the second week in November. Um, and thank God he said yes, gave me the application, or give me the rec, and then that was on my application. So that was really important. Last thing to mention, interview. So if you get to the point where you get an interview, MIT says the interviews are random. Um, I don't know about that. I feel like they're probably not. I don't think it's just random who gives it. I think they give it to the stronger applicants, but who knows? So if it is random, then you should still know. So for the interview, I would look up your interviewer when you get their name, kind of learn as much about them. I would also write out a little sheet of stuff, of notes for yourself of what you're going to say in the interview, kind of anticipate certain questions in the interview. It should be kind of obvious what they're going to ask. Um, and also be ready to direct the conversation in a way that favors you. So what I mean by that is my interviewer, when I looked him up, I noticed that he had he had connections with hockey. So not only was he a really successful computer scientist, but now he also, I forgot what he did, but he had something to do with the hockey league. So I purposely directed our conversation in the interview towards hockey because that's kind of somewhere for us to bond, somewhere for him to understand me better. And I think that was really important. My interview actually ended up being an hour and 45 minutes long because we kind of kept going on and on and on about hockey and other extracurriculars. And then after your interview, I would also um, I would also send them a thank you email, thanking them for their time, maybe making a little comment on something you talked about. That's really important. And lastly, if you ever need, if you ever need help with essays, need help with strategizing the college process, you could work a little bit with like a college counselor. So my college counselor, Mr. Bill Rittig, that was huge. He helped me so much.
Yay! A plus Bill. Bill,
Yeah,
Bill, Bill. Go ahead.
he was
Woohoo!
so helpful. He looked over all my essays. That was really helpful. Obviously, I had them done, but it was just good to have someone look over them and help me strategize for the whole college process. Um, that is about everything. That's about the rundown of the MIT application process and kind of what you should be looking to do. Um, I can take questions now. I know we're running a little low on time, uh, but if anybody wants to ask a question, I'm completely willing to answer.
Everyone,
Uh,
if you type thank you into the chat box, I would love to take a moment where everyone is just writing thank you. I think that would be so great. Okay. So, everyone, just take a moment, please, and give a big, huge thank you to Cervantes. Thank you so much for doing this. This was so much information. Thank you for giving Bill the
Thank
shout
you for
out.
having me.
He's going to love it. Something else I love to do when we finish up the webinars, I'm going to unmute everyone. Let's count to 3 and let's just say thank you so much to Cervantes. Ready? Everybody, we're going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thanks for
you
coming.
so much. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank
Thank you.
you.
I think
Thank
he
you guys for
deserves
coming.
3 thank yous in a row. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank
Thank
you, thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. We're so happy that you did this. And I really want to say thank you for all these years for being a student and a student leader and a mentor and someone who can speak so openly and candidly and honestly about your journey. I really want to say thank you to your parents, your mom. What a superhero. I'm so impressed with your amazing family leadership.
I wouldn't be here without Kweller Prep, so thank you so much.
Oh,
Um,
so nice.
and I could also answer a few questions I see in the chat right now. I'm getting messaged. So somebody asked, how did you find your NYU mentor? I found my mentor. I actually just went on the NYU website. I looked at the Skirball Institute of Biomolecular Medicine, and I literally emailed every PI from the from that lab, along with multiple other institutions. I must have sent out like 60 emails total, um, and only got like 5 or like I think I got like 3 responses. It was really bad, but luckily my mentor gave me the opportunity. So in the end, you have to really have like perseverance. You have to be really committed to the process. You're probably not going to get responses, but eventually, if you send out enough, someone's going to give you the opportunity. Um, Looking out, so I answered on my emails an absolute insane amount. It took so much time, but you really need to persevere. Um, how helpful is my school counselor? So my school counselor, she was somewhat helpful. I didn't really need the help. Um, by the time that she could have helped me, which was the start of senior year, I had already fully had a plan and had everything drafted. So she didn't really have anything to help me with. Um, she encouraged me to apply to more safety schools, which I actually disagreed with. I actually didn't think that was necessary. But once again, your school's counselor is a great tool to use, or not tool, but it's a great person to talk to. I would use that as much as possible. Bronx Science is great counselors. So talk to your counselor. Let me drop my email in the chat real quick. Give me a second.
Actually, Cervantes, let's leave that part out because I want to just kind of move along.
Okay.
I want to take 1 minute just to really, if we could. I don't know if your mom is in the chat or if your dad is in the chat. I would love to just take one moment. I think it's really cool to like acknowledge that, the parents, it's blood, sweat, and tears. So if that's okay, do you mind? Is it okay? Can we just give these super parents a big thank you because it's been a
Yeah,
lot
thank
of
you so much.
work.
Yeah.
So I would love to do that. I don't know if your mom is okay with that. I'm kind of asking, but if it's okay just to kind of like, hear what she can kind of, just give advice or a quick moment just to tell parents if she's in the chat, I would love to do that.
I could get the advice from her. Sorry about that.
Very good.
She's kind of like not
Too
right
close.
now. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so if it's now, that's
yeah.
fine. If it's
Sorry about that.
so Cervantes, can you give advice, kind of like just observing, kind of like give advice to parents? Let's close by giving advice to the parents So on what, you think they can do to best support their child.
Okay, so advice for parents, don't be too hard on your child. Don't push them to the brink of collapse. Um, don't make them feel bad about the process because in the end, it's already stressful enough. So applying so much pressure to them on top of everything is going to just make things worse and make it hard for them um, to work properly. I would also, if you can, help them research internship opportunities. Uh, kind of because that's a little hard to research. Sometimes you kind of miss opportunities. I know there are like Facebook groups for that, so if parents are in like Facebook groups for that, kind of helping your child get as many opportunities as possible is huge. Um, and reading over their essays, that's also huge. I have your child write their essay and then read over it, make sure it's all good. Um, that is really important because having another set of eyes, having another mind read it and kind of look through where you could change the language is really important. So kind of those three things I would recommend for parents. Um, I could answer some other questions in the chat I'm seeing right now. Um, so someone asked me about work-life balance. How many hours of sleep did you get? Yeah, I'll also drop an email real quick. 1 second. Sorry about that. So work-life balance. Sleep is something I value above all else. If I even with all this insane amount of work, I was getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, just because I budgeted my time properly. Um, I really think that's possible. I think that sleeping enough is huge. Um, I'm personally a person who would rather sleep an extra hour than study an extra hour for an exam. I think it benefits me more. I think it's more important. I think it's more beneficial. So I would really, really take care of your health. Do not sacrifice your health. Um, I actually remember this from when I was studying for the SHSAT. One of my SHSAT tutors said that if you're going to a specialized high school, you could pick two of three things. You could either sleep, have high grades, or have a really good social life. So you could pick two of those three. I picked high grades and sleep, which was my decision. I would recommend that because that's what's going to help you get into college the most. Obviously, try to maintain a good social life, but I kind of put my social life a little bit on the side. I sacrificed a little bit um, for the college process. A few other things. Yes, your guidance counselor does have a rec. That's important, but that they they deal with all of that separately. There's questionnaires for the guidance counselor to fill out that should be in like Naviance. The school usually coordinates that. It's not usually you taking the initiative and asking them. Where did I go to middle school? I went to Wagner Middle School. How late did you get your mentor? So I got my mentor in. So I actually contacted my mentor originally in mid sophomore year. Um, the pandemic hits. He liked me then. The pandemic hits, and I like kind of like radio silence. And then I emailed him again. I think in February of junior year. And then like 2 months later, he responded, and he was like, "Yeah, come to the lab. This will be great." So I got it like pretty late in the year. I got it in like March or something like that. March or yeah, I'd say like March, I think. So I got it late in the year. So just keep going. Never give up. Keep sending out emails, even when it seems hopeless. Just keep sending out emails. Express interest. Eventually, someone will. Eventually, you'll get a response, and hopefully, they'll let you work there. Did I apply to other schools? Yes, I did. So in early action, MIT has non-restrictive early action. That means I cannot apply to schools that have restrictive early decision or restrictive early action. So you can't apply to MIT and Harvard in early action. So what I did was I applied to MIT early action, I applied to University of Chicago early action, I applied to University of Michigan early action, and I applied to Stony Brook University early action. I was admitted to MIT, as you know. I was admitted to the University of Chicago. I was admitted to Stony Brook University, and I pulled out of my Michigan application because I got into MIT in Chicago. I thought I kind of went into this. So most people, would kind of say I'm crazy for only applying to those schools. Like they would say, like, Cervantes, where are your safeties? But I felt personally that my application was strong enough to the point where I didn't need to shotgun and apply to a insane amount of safeties. I think that's a waste of time. If you really know your application is strong, if you know your essays are good, your extracurriculars are good, don't shotgun, don't waste your time. Spend your time focusing on target schools, schools that you can get into, you know you can get into. Spend your time tailoring the applications for those schools. How did I found the organization, legal stuff? Is it hard? This is even hard? So okay, founding this, the organization was really difficult to found. It took months. The whole legal process took months. I got help from my mother. I got help from Kweller Prep actually, but it is very possible to do on your own. It's just you need to do a lot of research in advance. I had this planned for months before it actually even like got off the ground. It took me like probably 5 months to get this going. It's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to go into specifics of. It's a lot of legal stuff. There are tutorials online. I believe there's resources you should be able to find. How did you find out about lab opportunities? I think I touched on this. I just looked through pages of different laboratories in the city. So went to NYU's website, went to the Skirball Institute website, emailed almost all the mentors. Went to Mount Sinai website, found one of their labs, emailed the mentors. That's the process I did. And in my emails, I always had a personal touch. It wasn't like I was just like copy and pasting the same email. Like, can I work at your lab? No, I would email them. I would start out with, I'm Cervantes Pagan. I go to Bronx Science. I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. Then I would say, I read your research on whatever. I would talk, then I'd mention one of their papers. So it actually took me like 30 minutes to write each of these emails. It took me a really long time. I was really dedicated. But in the end, you need to do that to get one of these research opportunities. My mentor actually mentioned this to me. He said that he gets emails all the time of people asking to work with him, but he can tell they're just copy and pasting the same email. There's no personal touch to it. So adding that personal touch, what I did, where I was like, I read your paper on this. I was really interested by this. I'd be interested in further researching this with you. To have that personal touch in the email is huge. So that's kind of the whole research thing. I don't really think there are any other questions here. Stop screen sharing for now. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything.
We got so much out of this, and everyone, we are so thankful. Please type thank you into the chat, everyone. Cervantes, can you adjust it to say everyone so we can communicate with everyone? We just all want to say thank you, so please write thank you into the chat so I have it. I like the screenshot. Okay, we're really excited. Cervantes, I hope that you're at Kweller all summer working and helping. We're really excited. We're so grateful.
I just want to thank all of you for coming to. It's great to be able to help out.
It's a big ahead. You're a big role model. You are really thank you so much. All right, Cervantes, thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
I'll end it now. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.